This is Start, Grow, Manage, where we help entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, and freelancers achieve the impact, freedom, and wealth you imagined back when you started your company. At Start, Grow, Manage, our tools, practices, and processes help you engage, energize, and execute on building a business that empowers an extraordinary life. Learn more about our programs and how they can fuel your fire at startgrowmanage.com/learn more. Let's go.
Hello, and welcome to the 7th episode of the Start, Grow, Manage podcast. I am Joe.
And I'm Jeff. I'm happy that you're getting good at saying podcast instead of episodes.
It is a struggle every week. You have no idea. Every week is a struggle for me to do that. So, Jeff, did you know that holidays are coming up now?
Indeed.
Yeah. So, you got something to tell me?
No, not that I know of.
I thought you might be going back to Macy's for the holiday season.
No, that's not going to happen, Joe. That's in the past. And anyway, they don't sell canoes anymore, right? So,
but I thought your thing was really male foundation. Like you just wanted to go back and sell the male foundation stuff, man.
It's men's foundation. It's clothes.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah, sure. Clothes. Yeah. Foundational clothes.
I just worked at I didn't define terms.
Yeah.
I was just selling clothes.
You just
and
wanted
I wasn't
to go
very
back.
good at it.
It was
either.
Foundational clothes. I got it. Foundational clothes. That's
Foundation.
what you want to go sell.
Okay, whatever, Joe. All right, what are we talking about today? Please tell me that we're not talking about men's foundational clothes.
Oh, I'm so tempted to say that. No, we're talking about the sucky economy. That's what we're talking about.
We're back to the economy sucking. Actually, I think it's a pretty good economy. I think it's actually, I don't know. I think, rumors of terrible recession are overly
dramatized for news purposes.
Yeah, I don't know that exactly. That's like there was a kernel of this is based on a true story, but not necessarily a true story. But yeah, but the economy sucking. I think the important point of the economy sucking is that people will complain about the economy sucking, and they will use this as an excuse for their business not doing well, when in fact the reason their business is doing well has nothing to do with the economy. It has everything to do with the entrepreneur.
100%.
That's what we're talking about today.
100%. I've lived through this myself. I lived through it in 2008 when I ran my MSP, and I know exactly. Well, back in 2008 when I ran my MSP, I remember, that the whole report started coming out. Oh, the recession, and everybody was going crazy with this recession stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I walked into my office and I gathered the staff and I said, hey, listen, everybody, I just want you guys to know that we're not going to participate in the recession, right? Everybody else is. People are going to talk to you about it. If somebody says something to you about it, you say, at my company, we're not participating in that, so I don't know. Okay? And we grew about 200% from 2008 to 2010. And the reason we did that is because we changed we didn't change our business. We just changed our tactics so that we could maximize what was needed during the recession. You have a business, and the thing that you offer is needed, whether there's a recession or there's no recession, it is needed. So how do you maximize so that you're getting the most out of it?
So what did you do, Joe? Let's see. I have an answer to this, but I want to see if you did what I think, and then if you didn't, we'll just erase this and stuff.
Okay, good. So I'll tell you what I did, right? So what I did is I was going after a particular kind of client, right? Okay. And what I saw is that we started losing traction. The small client wasn't being able to give us the jobs that we wanted, right? And so what I did is I looked for clients in the same vertical with the same problem, with the same issue, but bigger, that were trying to replace their IT director.
Okay.
Right? And then I would apply for the job of the IT director and say, listen, I understand you're trying to cut costs. You have a $250,000 a year IT director. You're trying to replace him with a $150,000 a year IT director. What if I could replace that IT director and his whole team for $150,000? Would you be interested in talking to me?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it was like magic. We were turning out big clients in the same vertical, right? Doing the same stuff, but bigger. And it was great.
The key thing there is that you identified the problem that you were solving and figured out for whom. So here's why companies struggle in a down economy, right? Is, it comes back way in the beginning. We talked about ABC companies, and C companies are the companies that are just doing work. They're just out grinding. They're out doing work the whole time.
Hustle, baby. You got to hustle. You got to work 12 hours.
Remember the hustle guy, guy, right? Weekends are a thing of the past.
Yeah.
And that's your typical C company. They're doing work. And here's the problem with that, is that you don't stand out from anybody else who's doing work, right? Everybody's doing work. So if the level of business is declining or changing or shifting, and all you do is do work and you don't stand out, then there is no reason for anybody to choose you over anybody else. You don't have any advantage. You're not differentiated in any way, right? And that's what happens in a recession, is that the C companies ended up getting weeded out. But being a C company is in your control, and you move to a B company where you have some protection from the recession, where you participate. What would you call it? You don't participate. You voluntarily participate or opt out of. That's what I'm.
Opt out of the recession.
Opt out of the recession.
We opted out of the recession. We're not participating in it.
And you do that, right? You do that by clarifying the problem you solve and for whom. And what you may find is that the problem no longer exists. Right? The problem that you were trying to solve. So in 2008, getting a high risk mortgage, I guess the problem kind of went away because there was no more high risk mortgages, right? So that there was a whole segment of the population, it went away. So you can sit back and complain about the fact that it went away, or you can figure out the new problem that you solve and for whom you solve that problem, and you jump on the next wave. Right. And you take off with that wave. And there are people who are great at that. Every recession, every time there's a shift, they move on to the next thing and the new thing. Right. But it's always about identifying where that gap is. If you expect the world to buy the same thing from you tomorrow that they bought today, and you expect there to be no change, then it actually doesn't matter whether there's a recession or not a recession, because the world is going to change and it's going to leave you behind.
Yeah. And that's, the companies that survive, like Winnebago, right, are the companies that saw, hey, something's changing. We got cars. We got to make car parts. We got, there's a different, it's still a transportation problem. You're still in the same space. You're still dealing with the same stuff. But when the economy changes, when the problem changes, you have to go where that problem. And often what you'll find is that you can use the same tools, you can do the same stuff that you were doing, you're just solving a different problem. Like your internal process doesn't change very much.
Right.
My internal process didn't change at all.
You were solving the same problem. You just found a different for whom. So you were actually still solving the same problem. The same problem existed.
Yeah.
You had to get clear about for whom, and identified a new opportunity in a new for whom, right? And I think that's the thing that I think is important is you don't even have to reinvent what you're doing. A lot of times, I mean, sometimes you do. Sometimes the world, a market that was there is no longer there, and you have to. But most of the time, it's really about just getting clear around what you do and for whom. And you may have to shift your for whom. You may have to redefine the problem that they have, or really understand the pain that they have in a different way, and then you can use that to sharpen your marketing or go after a different segment. But it's that speaking, getting away from just doing work. Because if all you're doing, like if all you were doing was saying, I do IT work, and all of our MSPs, oh, I do IT work, and nobody cares, right? And if you're one of 1,000 voices singing, I do IT work, then it's just not, not exciting when the recession comes.
I can't tell you how many meetings I went to where I would just keep my mouth shut because everybody was complaining. I felt bad saying, well, we're doing great. We grew 100%, so I would just keep my mouth shut. And sometimes I would, if somebody asked me a question, I would say, look, this is the real deal. The real deal is you have to change your focus a little bit, and you have to figure out who are you solving a problem for. But the companies that really suffered, I saw, in terms of technical companies, were the companies that were agnostic. They try to do everything for everybody.
Yeah. Right? And that's what I'm trying to express with this idea of they're just doing work. Like we do everything for everybody. You have a problem, it's the one who says, my customer is whoever walks in the door. Right. Well, if your customer is whoever walks in the door, you're not special enough for them to care.
You're not. The narrower you get, the more money. Like you need to be able to thread your client through the eye of a needle.
Yeah.
Like that's how defined your client has to be, that you can thread it through the eye of a needle.
You know what's interesting about that is I always say the narrower your focus, the larger your market, right? We always perceive the market as being huge. But it only exists in segments, and as the more narrowly you define your segment, the bigger your market is, because they can start identifying themselves as your market, right? And that's like doubly true in a recession, where and our instinct, the entrepreneurial instinct, is to protect ourselves by going broad, by saying, hey, I have to develop customers in lots of different areas, or, and ignoring the real problem we solve and focusing on the niche, right? So what you didn't do was say, all right, now I'm going to do,
I'm going to switch verticals.
I'm going to go try to, or I'm going to
solve a different problem.
I'm going to move. I'm going to go compete with Dell and hardware. You're just like, I found a different for whom, a different person to sell to, but they have that same problem, and that's where I think it really comes back to.
And here's a real secret about a recession. Okay, in a recession, what happens is buyers are way more diligent. They're really paying attention because they know that every dollar counts because they're in a recession.
Yeah.
And if I have to interview 5 IT companies and I'm an accountant and only one of them specializes in accountants and solves problems for accountants and only works with accountants and only does accountant things and only knows everything that there is to know about accountants, guess who I'm going with? Guess where my money's going?
Yeah. Every time.
Right? Every single time. And that's the way it's always going to be. So the more defined your market is in a recession, the more people are going to seek you out because you're the expert and they know it. They've heard it. They've seen it. You've been talking about it. Everything you're saying points to the fact that you're the expert in that. And they're going to put their money with the expert, even if you're more expensive than the competitors, because in a recession, they want to get the results. So they're no longer price shopping. They're looking for the best value. Because it's the best.
I don't know that you're less likely to be price shopping in a recession, but I do think
I see this. I see like people really want to get results in a recession. They don't want to get like BS. So they're way more careful with their shopping, and you might have to make a concession or whatever, but But there's
I think
people are way more
I don't
careful.
think it matters when in the cycle you are. I think that price is never as important as entrepreneurs like to think it is. I think that it's always value, right? So
Yeah.
I do think that it's, people might become more value conscious in a recession, but it's just not about price.
Ever.
And
It's about
it's
value.
one of the hard things for people to get their head around is that if you only give someone price to negotiate around, if all you say, if you're just doing work and you haven't differentiated and you haven't structured, the only thing you have to negotiate on is price, then people are going to negotiate on price.
Yeah.
But if you're in that situation, like you talked about, you're in the middle of a recession and you're an accountant who needs IT, and somebody comes to you and they're like, yeah, I do IT for accounting firms, and I know all of your software, and I know how it works, and I know how to put this there, and I know how to deal with Thomson Reuters, and I know how to increase your billable hours, and I know how to, then even if you're 10% more than the next guy who says, yeah, I know computers and I do computers and I make it work, you're much more attracted to that accountant. It doesn't matter that it's a recession. And that's I don't think people are less likely to buy on price because it's a recession, but they are. But I definitely think that the rules around value are critically important, and the idea that you have to be able to show somebody why they should purchase from you, why buying from you matters, and that's where it comes down to being really, really clear about that problem.
Yeah. So your big takeaways from today should be: know the problem you solve and for whom. Don't participate in recessions. Right? And don't you can stick to your guns in terms of your know your value. Like really know and understand your value and the value that you're providing for that person that you solve the problem for.
Yeah. And when it does come down to it, and you do have to pivot, know you're pivoting, identify a gap in the market. So find a new for whom, find a new avatar, a new target customer. It may be a whole new segment that's opening up that wasn't there before. Because the other thing about recessions is it really means change. Change is happening. Things are moving in a different way. So there's different opportunity than there was before. So if you are going to pivot, identify a new for whom, get again crystal clear about that problem you solve, and now really build your business and your offer around delivering that. And that's really what it takes to get out of a recession.
100%. All right. I think we're there, my friend.
All right, good. So that's I think we're going to talk more about recessions. I'm thinking as we talk about this, I'm going to put together a guide on how to deal with recession. So we'll work on putting that together. You should find that in the learn more section, or maybe you won't because maybe I didn't get it done yet, but I'm going to try and get something done around the recession and how we prepare for it. And other than that, Joe, you want to take us out?
Well, just remember that you are loved.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks for joining us, and a special thanks to our subscribers. Consider becoming one right now and tap into our insights and instincts to help drive your business vision and success. Remember, you didn't start your business to feel frustration. You started it for freedom. We can help you discover the impact, freedom, and wealth you always imagined. Learn more at startgrowmanage.com/learn more.